Alright, so we are back with a new video regarding Arcade1up. And yep, again it's Street Fighter 2, because here in my country these things are pretty damn hard to find still in 2020. But nevertheless I picked this up second hand and there is a new model here out there, and I'm guessing it's the same for other countries. So that's the reason why I'm making in 2020 a completely new review of the new arcade version. There are some differences. I'm going to show you what are the differences. So consider subscribing. I have a lot of talk about, and we're going to do a lot of modding with these cabinets. By the way, I already did a lot of modding, so nevertheless, let's go. Okay, when you're receiving the package, and this time it's not from China, we are going to get this Arcade1up in a box. Yep, because you need to put it together yourself. I experienced it with a couple of these new cabinets I bought, because the version I'm reviewing now, it's not brand new, but I just wanted to show you that it's pretty easy to put together. It's more like a DIY package. Let's think about IKEA furniture. The manual itself is just great, and they explain it very well, even giving the parts some letters so you know which part needs to go where. Nevertheless, if you're not really technical, it's not a big of a deal in my opinion, and if you have a big problem you can always ask somebody around in your neighborhood, or maybe can help you out assemble this arcade cabinet. I just want to point out this is not my first cabinet, and of course I bought it second hand, but it was not a big of a deal. I just want to have an extra cabinet for doing a new review, because this is a brand new version and there are some differences. Maybe you can already see here where I'm making this video, but let's do a little bit close up and I will show you what are the differences with the new model in 2020. So the first notable difference are the colors of the cabinet, because I did notice that the colors of the new 2020 model is slightly lighter than the previous model. And of course I still don't have a freaking protection plate with this version. And the next thing that I did notice that the joystick is way better than the previous model. And that is something that is very positive, and I did notice playing the games, it plays way better. And the buttons, I'm feeling say a little bit cheap, but they are way better than the previous model. So that is also very positive. Another difference with the new model over here is that we're having no T-molding. Here we have this very nice thick T-molding, and it is not applied with the new model anymore. Okay, another thing is that I still have a little bit of a strange stuff going on here from the sides. I'm guessing this is more like an, let's say, wear of the sticker itself, or this is just that is normal. Nevertheless, it's a little bit of a shame seeing this on the cabinet. So in the next step we are going to remove the control panel, because I'm very curious what are the major differences. Not only I can feel that there are differences between the buttons and the joystick, but let's rip it apart and let's see what are the big differences. And for example, do we have a different speaker, and are there some improvements over here? Alright, so let's move the screws and let's go. Personally, I have the idea that this back plate is also a little bit differently. I see we're having different parkers that holds this cover in place. So here we're having the first differences. Okay, when I removed the cover, I already noticed there are some major differences. To begin with, the buttons are completely different than the previous model, and we're having way better joysticks. So let's go to the old version I have here, so I can show you the difference. So when you are comparing the old versus the new model, you can see they improved it big time. They are using way better joysticks, and the buttons are completely different. Nowadays we're having exactly the buttons I hoped I had in the first edition. They didn't use a lot of glue, or not at all, in the new version, and the little speaker is also different. In my opinion, the old speaker was way better. It was an 8 ohm 5 watt and it had quite some bass to it. And of course it was very loud, but I find it a little bit of a disappointment looking at the new speaker that is only in 3 watt version. So they downgraded it, and I'm guessing it's because it was very loud in the previous model. So with this 2020 edition we're having some big changes, and it will give us a better playability of the games. So let's say you want to keep the original Arcade1up and you don't want to do any modification, but you do like to have some cinema buttons. It's very easily to replace. But on the other hand, with the joystick, you can see that they soldered all the wires to the joystick itself. So sadly, you cannot, let's say, plug and play, just replace the joystick itself. But I do like that using this octo gate gives you the best playing experience, and if you don't like it, you can always replace it with a different version. They didn't use any glue on the contacts, but keep in mind that it is possible they can get a little bit loose. As you can see, they are a little bit wiggly. So keep in mind, if you're having any problems, most of the time it will come from this control board. So when it comes to the controls, the old model has a little bit better speaker, but the controls and the joysticks, I'm very happy that they replaced it in the 2020 model. On top of your control panel we're having volume control and on and off switch, very easy to use for everybody. What I understand, doesn't matter what kind of model you're having, when you're powering on the device itself, it will give you the Arcade1up logo. And when it's booting up and it goes very fast, you are going to get the menu where you can choose your game. In my case we're having Street Fighter 2, the Championship Edition, Super Street Fighter 2, the new Challenger, and Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo. The first notable difference is not only the feel of the joystick and the buttons, but I can tell you that the game plays way better this time. Now we can do all my moves instantly without any problems, and it is something that is very cool. Alright, so the previous game runs pretty good, so let's try Super Street Fighter 2 and let's see if they fixed the sound issue like the previous model. But sadly, no, they didn't fix it. I don't hear my cursor select music or my little tune, and there are some other things I'm missing out. And even when I'm selecting my character, where is the sound effect?
USA. Round 1, fight.
Alright, so let's try the third game, but even with the previous game I had the sound issues, so nevertheless it will not be better with this version. Alright, so what can we conclude out of this? They did improve the 2020 model in many ways. For example, the buttons, the joysticks, the improvement of the, let's say, the speaker. I'm not a big fan of it, but I can totally understand why they did this, because the previous model did go very loud and I personally never put it on the, let's say, third and loudest setting. But if you look at the quality of the emulation, it's pretty decent, but sadly we're still having the problem with the sound with the two Street Fighter games. And I think the main problem was that we didn't have stereo sound. So this is what you're going to get with the new model. I'm going to mod the hell out of it. I already did some modification videos, so check it out on the channel. I want to thank you for watching, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next video.